Okay, we're good. We are good. Okay, well, welcome,
Perfect.
welcome. Happy January. Welcome to Playing to Win 2022. This is like season 2022. I'm so excited. And I'm very excited and honored to have the amazing Joe Williams of Keller Williams with us today. So I am just so honored to have you. So first of all, welcome to the show, Joe Williams.
Good to be here, Melanie.
Wow, the crowd goes crazy. I love that we have guests in our studio audience from all over the world. So it's going to be a fun next, 55 minutes or so that we have together.
Cool.
What I love to do, Joe, is just let's introduce yourself. Keller Williams, this is amazing. You must be so proud that a company
Well,
that has your name is the #1 real estate company in the world. Like, how does that feel?
Melanie, you know me pretty well. I don't even think about that. I mean, it's not it, basically, if you study some of the biggest and brightest companies and ideas, they all started as very, very simple answers to very specific questions. And I think what Gary and I did early was we sat down and looked at the real estate business and said, okay, we know it operates like this, but we think there's a better way for this little box to be put together. So what if we asked ourselves 5 or 6 basic questions and basically fashioned it like this? And if you go back and study what it is we did, they're all very, very simple things. There's no magic. When people say, wow, how have y'all done this? Well, the key was asking those basic questions up front. For example, back in '83, when we started the company, Gary and I said to ourselves one day, look, it's interesting to me that most companies try to build a brand and they drive everybody to the company brand. But the reality is, if you got a homeowner and he gets a notice that he's being transferred somewhere, the way he finds his real estate agent while he's playing golf, he asks his buddies, hey, I don't know anybody in the real estate business. Who do you guys know? And, you're playing golf with 3 other guys. One of them's going to say, hey, I know a guy you can call. He's great. I've used him. Here's what happened with us. Be happy to give you his number. So what Gary and I did was we sat down because we've been agents. Okay. We were real estate agents.
Right.
I'm still an agent. And
yes, you are. And we love that. And your team's doing amazing things.
Yeah. And so the reality was Gary and I talked about that and said, okay, if that's how people pick a real estate company, why would we spend money building the company brand? Why wouldn't we take Melanie and teach Melanie how to build her own individual brand?
Right.
And when you look back now, 38 years later, what a very basic idea. But yet, Gary and I were the only ones that asked the question, or at least came up with an answer. So, when you ask, how do I feel? Certainly I'm proud, but at the same time, it's just amazing to me how what we did was very common sense driven ideas that we just implemented. And by the way, we didn't implement it. All of the agents implemented it. What Gary said yesterday, and of course I'm really proud of him, with the deal that came out Inman yesterday. That's a huge.
Yes, that most influential person for Stefan Swanepoel. Yeah, number one.
Yeah, I mean, that's really an incredible deal. But even as Gary says, look, I didn't do this alone.
Right.
This occurred because everybody was behind these concepts and ideas.
You say it like it's such a simple thing, Joe. You say that's like, and it is simple, yet it's so powerful, right? Because what you guys realize is the power is in the people. The power is in the people and the relationships our people have with us, our relationships people have with their clients on the golf course or wherever, right? It's the relationships. And so the more you can help the agent brand themselves and, people do business with people, not companies, period. End of story, right?
Yeah. But like you say, Melanie, most of our competitors until the last 10 years really didn't get that.
Exactly.
They didn't get that.
Oh,
and
no.
So
I love that, Joe. By the way, I loved that when I was getting into the business, now everybody's still coming in the room. Sorry. When I was getting into business and I heard the concept of Keller Williams, and I felt very much like, what do you want to have happen? How do we help you get there? And everywhere else, it was like, because of us and because of this brand and because of this brand. And I'm like, wait a minute, we all come from another career. So Keller Williams really embedded this, like, what do you want to have make happen? How can we help you get there? Which is a very different mindset than the competitors. And I think it was such a brilliant, you say it so like, it was so simple. It was so simple, but so powerful because it put the power back into the relationship where it belongs. And
see, I've always had, I think what KW did, Melanie, is my theory has always been, and you've heard me train the agents on the 4 basic real estate rules of the road. One of those is that anything you do, any enterprise, any concept, idea, marriage, whatever, generally relies on at least a minimum of 3, but most of the time, 4 basic solid legs of the table. I call it the stable table theory. Okay.
Love it.
If I build a stool and it has 1 leg, how stable is it? Well, it's not. 2 legs, it's still not stable. 3, it's a stool, but I wouldn't let my grandkids play on it.
Right.
But with 4 legs, now I've got a very stable table. And what I've often said, take any company anywhere who is successful, they're going to rely on 4 basic concepts. And I use Southwest Airlines a lot as a perfect example of this. First concept that they got right was clarity. What is it exactly we're going to do as an airline? And they knew that what they were going to do was create a seamless interaction. When you're flying with us, we're going to have the best seamless interaction of getting you from point A to point B. So they were very clear on their vision. Now, that vision included low prices, good economics, which, by the way, was the second leg of their table. How do we create the best economics to the flying experience? Well, don't charge for bags.
Right.
We don't reserve seats because it makes faster. We can load the plane quicker. We don't charge you if you change your ticket. In other words, it's better numbers all day long flying Southwest. Third thing they did was, how do we go get the best people? Because really, a lot of the interaction with an airline is, who are you talking to? And how are they treating you on the plane, at the gate, all of that. And then the 4th leg of that table for them was, how do we create a culture, an environment where we make flying fun? It's an enjoyable experience. And anybody that's ever flown Southwest, except for the last 30 days, probably.
Yeah, right.
Because they've had, listen, everybody's had issues with the pandemic. There's no question. But generally, they're the only airline I know that when you're on it, everybody's having a great time. It's just fun.
Telling jokes or whatever. Yeah.
Telling jokes, they let them sing. Some of the best flights I've ever had, I've had on Southwest Airlines. So you look at KW, we use the same basic formula. Number one, clarity. Who is it we wanted to be? Well, I wanted you, Melanie, to be the brand. You're going to be the brand. All I'm going to do is be your coach and your consultant to help you build your business. And that was a very unusual approach. But obviously, it hit a nerve, and it was the right approach.
Yeah.
But we were very clear on who we wanted to be and who I wanted you to be. So that was number one. Number two was, just like Southwest Airlines, how do we figure better economics for the agent? That's how the capping program came to be. Because up until that time, nobody had capped commissions. No one had ever heard of that. Now, by the way, to do that, you've got to run larger offices.
Right.
So there's a bit of a trade-off there. But at a certain point, the larger the office gets, the more synergy you get inside that office. So better economics made more, give them the best commission rate. Yeah, we went back to the agent and said, look, you need to buy your signs. You need to pay for your own ads. We're not paying for any more advertising. But why? Because we're not the brand. You are.
Right.
So in fairness, although you're going to buy the ad, I'm going to give you the money to do that through a better economic commission program. And I'd have to say, you look back on that 20 years, that's worked beautifully. The third thing was, just like Southwest Airlines, how do we go get the best people? Primarily in the leadership. How do I get the best operating partners? How do I get the best regional managers? That was critical, because we felt like if you can do that, it's just like a football team. Get me a really good coach, and you're going to attract good players.
Right.
And so that was a major part of that formula. Let's go. And you've heard me tell the story, and I know, Melanie, you've heard it, where when we hired Bain Hinion back in 93, 94, he came in and he said, look, the one thing you guys don't know how to do is you don't know how to hire people. And he taught us the 10-step program where you go find the most talented people. And that made all the difference. When 07, 08, 09, when the crash hit, why did KW continue to grow when everybody else went backward? It's because we were able to go find the best leaders.
Yeah.
And that's just smart for the whole operation.
And the time and energy invested around the leadership in Keller Williams, right? There's a lot of time and invested in us as leaders to help us be better leaders to our people, which I think is very unique also.
Well, it's the same with the Agent Leadership Council. It's the same idea. I want the feedback from the agents in the office. We need to sit down with them on a monthly basis. If you got an office of 500 agents, you know this more than anybody. There's no way you can manage that many people. There's no way.
Right.
Without the leadership inside that office, it's just not going to happen. So the ALC was the same part of that equation. How do we get the best people? How do we get those people in leadership roles where they can help everybody? And then the fourth leg of that table was culture. How do you create a company where people don't have to leave to achieve their goals, whatever those goals are? I mean, to me, it was just terrible. Go find the best people and come to work, you train them, everybody's doing great. And then one day they come to you and say, listen, I really got to leave because you as a company haven't given me the avenues for me to be able to hit my future goals. And Gary and I thought that was terrible. So that one, we failed as a company if we can't give everybody that open avenue to just keep doing what they're doing without having to go start their own company. I mean, I get it. We've had people leave and do that, and I get that's going to happen. And for some people, it's the right move. But by and large, most people can create an incredible brokerage opportunity and build wealth through real estate. You know, I'm a big proponent of that. Everybody needs to be investing in what they're brokering to the customers and clients.
Absolutely.
So that's part of creating the culture. And that was why when we originally set up the commission splits, we weren't trying to make money off people buying their own real estate. I mean, you know, it wouldn't fit the culture.
Right.
So we told them, you go buy stuff, get going, and let's come out the back side of this, where being in the real estate business was absolutely the best decision you could have ever made.
I love that you said that. In fact, yesterday, so we do citywide team meetings now with our 3 offices that are under one broker now.
Right.
It was I led the meeting, and I put together a panel on diversifying your real estate. And I had 4 different agents, Keller Williams agents, that really do that, exactly what you're saying, right? And you've been such a leader of that, whether it's flips that they're doing or investments, or, you know, in fact, Alice is one in our studio audience. She was one of our panelists, but just investing, because that's where the real big wealth comes, right?
Yeah. And the thing is, and you'll appreciate this, Melanie, you know, Janine, my wife, with only the clarity that a wife could provide, right? I got started working with new home builders, and I would go find them great lots. I had a plan that I could bring them, that anywhere you built this plan, you were going to sell it. You know, I mean, every realtor needs to have a few of those in their folder. Then I would call an interior designer that I knew, and she did great work. So we had the right lot, we had the right plan, and we had the right amenities inside, right colors and everything. Well, if you got those 3 variables, there's a very good chance you're going to sell that house. And we would. But Janine looked at me one day after I'd been doing this for about 1.5 years. She said, honey, you're the guy finding the lot. You're the guy giving them the plan. You're doing all of this, and all you're making on it is a commission. and she was, excuse me, on the backside of this, whatever this is anyway.
Yeah.
So, but she was 100% correct. Yeah. So the next week I called that builder and I said, look, and I've been doing this with you for 18 months. You're making tons of money, and I'm providing all the data. Would you consider partnering with me? You know what he said? I can't believe it's taken you this long to ask me that.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. And so after that, we started doing deals as a joint venture. I still made my commission to sell it because that job didn't go away.
Right.
You still have to do that job. But just like he collected overhead on the deal, I didn't fault him for collecting overhead, you know, because he still got to run the job.
Sure.
But then we would split the profits. I think back then I would take 30%, he would take 70%. But it was the stepping stone to learning how you go syndicate and put your own joint ventures together, because it's a very easy step from there to the next step, where you talk to 2 or 3 of your best clients that have known you for years, and you have no idea how much assets they have back there that are trying to find some place to get invested. And real estate in your community, where you know the local community, you know the values, because look, real estate's all about valuation. That's it. I mean, that's what it boils down to. If I buy this property for X and I hold it for 2 years or 3 years, what is the valuation likely to be in 2 to 3 years? So if you understand real estate, and by the way, keep this in mind. What I love about real estate is it's a learnable investment. Now, let me give you an example. when I trained this, in fact, I was in Raleigh, North Carolina 3 weeks ago. Many of you know I opened the Raleigh office and then opened the Cary office. So I flew down there to make their Christmas party, and I was there, so I trained, each day. And we trained well built. So that morning, I stopped at the local 7-Eleven and I picked up the Wall Street Journal. And the day I walked in there to train, I had circled where there was an article from a bull, saying, oh man, the market's, it's going to go crazy. And there was an article on the next page from a bear. It's about to crash. Stop, liquidate everything. And my point to the class very simply was, how do you know?
Which one is it? Which one's right? Exactly.
Yeah, with stocks, how do you know? I mean, here's experts in the same newspaper. One guy saying, oh, Armageddon, the other one going, you're crazy not to be buying. The difference is with real estate, the things that drive valuation in real estate are learnable. Supply and demand, job history, locational analysis. All of these things, whether you're in the United States or you're in Turkey, you can go find that data and you can make a compelling case to a potential buyer that, hey, things are such that this market should be moving up. Or maybe even if it's stable, eventually the supply and demand is going to get out of whack and it's going to move back up again. And the beauty of building a base of investors is you become the trainer. And you can do it via email, you can do it with a seminar. There's lots of ways to do it. I'll tell you, the way I always get people started doing it is go find a good example of a duplex or a small apartment complex or somebody who's been renting single family or even the VRBO category. I love that category now. I can buy a house in a resort area and not only enjoy the house, but I can rent it. That's a whole new subcategory now, which is very viable.
Oh, yeah.
So you've got all these different areas, but go find an example of a successful one, get the documentation and the numbers on it, and then use that as your example when you reach out to your customers and clients. And let me tell you, from a ratio standpoint, if you have 50 clients in your database and you send an example out one day and say, I don't know if you're aware of this, but in our community, you have people doing this type of investing. The ratio generally is 80-20, right? 20%, in this case, 10 of those clients are going to respond back to you and go, we've got some capital. We would love to be involved in something like this. And of course, the rule is if you don't ask, you don't what?
Yeah. You don't get, yeah.
So, but I'm going to tell you, it is shocking the amount of assets that have moved from the greatest generation down to the baby boomers, which are now floating to the next generation. Folks, there's trillions of dollars of assets. First major deal I ever did was a garden home community. We built it. There were 96 garden homes. I made a list of 5 clients to go to get the money. I needed about $3.5 million. This is 20 years ago. And a first guy I went to visit with, I had sold him a really nice house out in Spanish Oaks, although they didn't call it Spanish Oaks at the time.
Back before it was Spanish Oaks.
That's way before it was Spanish Oaks. And I sat down, I laid it out, and then I asked him in my closing question, how much of this would you like to get involved with? And he sat there for maybe 10 seconds. He said, well, I think I can handle all of it. I was blown away. I mean, all of it was $3.5 million. I'm like, okay, that sounds like a winner to me.
Right?
I loved it because all I had was one partner on the deal that made it beautiful for the next 5 years, building the garden homes, getting them sold. But all of you have that opportunity. You may not think you do, but trust me. And sometimes in your office, two of you as agents may get together and combine your list and go out there and look for opportunities. Believe me, they're out there.
That's amazing. And development is something that I know that your team really specializes in. You do a lot of development lately, and you've always been a commercial guy, right? You've always primarily, right? I know you've done both, but you've really been known in the commercial space as well. So what does your world look like today? Like what's the day in the life of Joe Williams look like today?
Well, typically, here's what I would tell you. And it gets back to, let me train a little bit here, Melanie. Okay. I always say, again, going back to my 4 rules of the road, right? Rule number 4 is it all starts with vision. Okay. So my system is basically, it's an acronym. It's VDPR. VDPR. V is vision. So we sit down at the beginning of the year and we go, okay, where are we going? Okay, well, where do we as a team want to be? Which means you got to sit down with each of the individual team members and say, okay, what are your, what's your goals? Like, Richard, how many deals you want to try to do this year? And it may not be deals as much as it's gross commission income.
Sure.
You with me?
GCI, yeah.
And part of the thing we look at as well is, okay, how many deals do we want to try to partner on? You with me? In other words, I want everybody to be building wealth here. So it's a skull session where we look at what everybody individually is trying to do. Then we get together and then we can say, okay, here's where we're trying to go. Okay, that's the vision. And even if I'm a residential agent, if you don't sit down at the beginning of the year and gather an idea where it is you're trying to go, how in the hell do you know where you're going to end up? You know what I'm saying?
Good luck.
Well, because here's the deal. If the vision is strong, okay, and clear, then you'll be able to develop the D, which is discipline, okay? Because without a very strong vision, you will not develop the discipline. It's just like, perfect example I like to give is, okay, you want to lose weight? Okay. Then get a vision of what your life is going to look like if you lose that 15 pounds. And the vision's got to be very clear. What does that mean to you? Besides the fact that you'll now fit in all your clothes in the closet. What does it mean in terms of your health? What does it mean in terms of how you feel about yourself? All of those things. If the vision is clear, I guarantee you'll stop eating dessert. Okay.
Yeah.
But if the vision's not clear, you won't get the discipline that you're going to need to lose the weight. You just won't.
I love that analogy. That's great.
And so when we go back to real estate agents, if you've got a vision of where you're trying to go, which is normally how many deals you're trying to get done this year, and a GCI component to that, then you're going to acquire the discipline it takes to go do the lead generation. Because in real estate, you have good days and you have bad days. And the key is, if your vision is strong, when you're new, you have to understand it's all numbers based. It's all numbers based. And some weeks you'll have good luck, some weeks you won't. All it takes is one guy to say, yeah, I need to sell my property. And then you got a good day. But you don't get there without hitting the numbers. That's the discipline that you got to have when it comes to lead generation. And it's the same thing we do here. We're on the phone constantly talking to landowners, constantly talking, staying in contact with them. So when the time is right, boom, they give us a call, or we're calling them going, hey, the time is right. You need to put your property on the market here. We're constantly talking to people lead generating like that. But without the discipline, You want to make those calls. And by the way, if you've got a good vision, you acquire the discipline, then you become a P, which is a planner. And planners are very good about sitting down and writing what it is they're going to do today, or what it is they're going to do this week, or what it is that's going to happen this month. Now, by the way, I hear all the time, you know, we've got 411, we got all this, we have all these tools, right? Well, Richard gave me a pill. I just knocked it over somewhere.
Hope it was a good one.
Oh, here it is. That's one of those cough pills.
Oh, there you go.
All right, so here's how complicated it gets. How do you like this, huh?
There you go. High tech.
There's my Big Chief tablet. Here's my list of clients this week. We're working on deals. Here's Cynthia's list. Here's the tax list. It's January, but got to get the taxes ordered up, property taxes, quarterly taxes, which are due on Friday. Here's the KWRI list. Melanie's on here somewhere. Yeah, there you are.
Oh, for our session.
And here's my personal list. Okay. Every week I rewrite this list on my Big Chief tablet. And you know, I mean, we talk to people all the time and they go, oh, well, man, I fill out my weekly, monthly. I don't care. Just write it down in some form or fashion on a weekly basis so you have an idea. I don't write it down. I don't have the time. Plus, I'm a high I. High I's don't care about that crap. High I's just want to get out there and talk to people. Get me on the phone. It's time for you to sell now.
Yeah. Well, all the more reason why high eyes need that, right? Because we need that discipline so that we remember, oh yeah, I was doing this, right? So that I go, oh yes, talk to this call, right? I love that, but it's not about what plan you use. It's having a plan.
It's having a plan. And the thing is, the thing, Melanie, that's amazing to me, and you guys can all appreciate this. If you write things down, it's amazing how they tend to get done. Here's a wonderful example. If I was going to fly to Turkey to go out there to see Gokhan, okay? If I was coming out there to see you, that's a long trip. I'm going there, I'm going to stay for at least 10 days. So what I often laugh about is it's amazing how productive we all are the 5 days before you're about to take a 2-week trip.
That's so true.
It's amazing. I mean, you look back when you get on the plane and you're thinking, man, we got a lot done. You know why you got it done? You made a list. You wrote it down.
Yeah.
And men especially need this. Okay, women, God gave women a knowledge and an ability that men just friggin' don't have. My wife can be watering the tomatoes, talking on the phone, and shooting coyotes in the backyard all at the same time. She can multitask. I mean, I laugh because I know we've had guys up on stage going, oh, multitasking. Oh, that doesn't really work. Oh, really? You're not married to my wife. This girl can get it all done. Well, like I tell her, honey, if you want me to get it done, I need a list. I'm a typical man. Give me a list and I can work right down the list. And so if you know where you're trying to go, it gives you the discipline to be able to make those planning lists all day long. And so VDPR, the R is you get the results. So 9 o'clock Monday morning, the whole team gets together, Melanie, and we walk through. First thing we talk about is, what did we learn last week? We go around the room, and it's amazing. It's amazing how much we learn from each other. And we kind of go over what everybody learned last week. Then we go to specific things that they want to accomplish. They're big rocks. Because sometimes if John Horton's coming to me saying, okay, we got this and this and this, I can look at John and say, hey, I can help you with that VFW lease. We just put the 10-acre tract of the VFW post number 8787 under contract. I don't know the deal on Melanie.
Amazing.
I think it's
Exciting.
around a $14 million deal, but John's been working on that deal, and I helped him this week as we sat down and walked through the contract. So if I know he's working on that, then we can collaborate. Because let me tell you, during the pandemic, we just decided to quarantine together here.
Yeah.
And we've all had COVID and we're through it. And, I feel like we're good to go.
Right.
But real estate, especially in commercial, is a very collaborative effort because, as you know, we don't really have an MLS that we can work with.
Right.
The beauty of residential, as I said for years, is the residential brokers all cooperate with each other, which is fantastic. Commercial, not so much. So the third thing we do in the team meeting is then we go through all the transaction lists to see where we are with everybody. Because as you know, commercial transactions, they can take up to a year to get closed.
Right.
So they're very long in the teeth. So anyhow, so once everybody's gotten organized, we now know for the week what everybody's working on. And every Monday we get together and we do that. Before I leave the night before, I always get out my list and I double check and I'll check off things that I know may be big rocks. The reality is the 80-20 rule never goes away. 20% of the task you have produce 80% of your volume. So, and in real estate, I think the frustration with agents is they make a long list and the next day they only got the 3 things on the list. Here's the deal. It doesn't matter as long as those were the high priority items you were trying to get to.
That's right.
Because if they were, those are the ones that control most of your income.
Right.
And by the way, if I can expand a little bit, people often ask, they say, well, Joe, the stable table theory, we get that for KW. If I'm an agent, what are my 4 legs of the table? Well, leg number 1 is vision, clarity. Why am I in the business? Where am I trying to go? That would be the first leg. Second leg would be market knowledge. In other words, you can't be a complete dumb person and do real estate. Real estate's a little more complicated than that. So you've got to acquire at least a base level of market knowledge.
Yeah, you have to be a student of the market, right? You have to, because it's ever changing too, right?
Well, what I like to say is there's market knowledge and then there's business knowledge about how the business functions.
Yes.
You can go into the business and not totally have this down, but if you don't have this down, you have a problem.
Yeah.
You've got to understand valuation. You've got to understand property. That's why I tell new people, get out there and look at property. I mean, get out there, because if you're out there, you'll really start to get the ebb and flow of what the valuations are doing. You can get the education part as you go along. But if you don't have this part, it's going to be very difficult and you're going to be very dangerous to yourself and to the clients you're trying to work with.
Absolutely.
You're not a professional.
Yep.
So you're constantly chasing that data. But that's really the second leg of that table is go understand your market. Third leg of the table would be lead generation.
Mm-hmm.
You got to pick up the phone and you got to call people and you got to talk to them. And I talk to a lot of new people that they go, God, I'm really hesitant to do that. Well, the reason you're hesitant to do that is you don't know what to say.
Correct.
Because if you know what to say, calling people's not that hard. Okay. You just gotta, and you're there to give them information. To me, selling in real estate is nothing but education. You're just a teacher. And as long as you're constantly disseminating valuation and information about a market, the beauty of real estate is everybody wants to know what you have to say. It's like I used to tell people, look, the 2 most popular people at a party are the cop and the real estate agent. because people love to talk to cops. Oh my gosh, what's the most incredible call you ever made? You know, whatever. And I could say that in historically. So my son-in-law is a policeman for APD. So he and I laugh about this all the time. And the other is a real estate agent. Because once they find out you're in real estate, they're going to get you over in the corner and go, you know, what's my house worth? You know what? Hey, I heard this. Hey, I heard this. People love to talk about real estate. So the third leg of that table is the lead generation that you plan to do. And by the way, if you want to make a lot of money, you need to work toward the expert level of whatever it is you're doing. When I was doing new homes, I became an expert at new homes. I went down to the city. I pulled the preliminary site plans. It's public data. Nobody knew where the hot lots were coming as much as I did, because I was the only guy that went down to the city to pull the plats. And again, it was public data. Today, you just go to the computer. Most of it's loaded in the computer.
And yet people still are not necessarily doing it. So,
well, again, everybody loves to work with an expert. Okay. Now, those of you who've been in my training class, you know that when I'm teaching selling, okay, people make decisions. Your customers make a decision on you based on one of two things. They either use this to make that decision, or they use this to make that decision. Okay. What am I saying? I'm saying if a guy's an engineer and Coco goes in there to make a listing presentation, there's every good chance that he's going to make a decision on using Coco or not based on his head.
yes.
In other words, is she smart?
Mm-hmm.
He's going to look at the data, because that's how I had people think. They look at the data. How good is Coco's data here? How good is Coco explaining these comparables? And does she understand what I've put in my house? That's how head people think.
Yep.
And by the way, easily 20% of your clients, they're head people. They make their evaluation based on data. Okay. Now, if it's the other type of person who uses this, the heart, they're high eyes. They are more apt to want to like you and trust you before they're going to do business with you. Okay. They make their decision based on a people view, not so much the data. Yeah, they know you brought the data. They're looking at you, evaluating you, saying to themselves, can I trust Coco? Do I like Coco? So I would tell you, when you're dealing with heart people, they want to build a relationship with you. Does that make sense?
100%.
They want to connect with you. And the way they connect is by evaluating you people to people, not data, people to people. Okay. That's why I often say, when you go visit a seller for the first time, and it's very evident they're a heart person, giving them a testimonial, oh man, that's huge. When a heart person goes to the internet and they go to hotels.com or VRBO or whatever, the first place they go is the testimonials.
Yep.
Now, hotels.com knows this. So does VRBO. They know that heart people, they immediately go to see, what did other people think? That's why testimonials to heart sellers, that's huge. Now, a head seller, yeah, they'll read the testimony, but that's not their big deal.
Yeah, they'll make their own decision based on
they make their own decisions. A lot of them are CEO drivers. A lot of them are on a disc test. They're either a D or a C general that work with their head a lot. The best example I can give you all, and you know this, you'll love this, and Melanie's heard it, but it's worth repeating. When Gary and I went to go buy our first copy machine in 1983, Gary's over there, Mr. Allhead. Hey, how much is this machine? How much is the drum? It was a mechanism, back then. If the drum went out, you were SOL. How much is it per copy? That's what a head person does. Me, I'm on the other side there, Mr. Hart, going, who's used this machine? Give me a list of 3 people that have had this machine for 6 months or longer so I can call them. And that's classically what a hard person does.
Yeah.
That's how they make their decision.
Oh, I love that so much.
So I share that with you because, I was teaching a commercial group the other day, and I know people often say with the commercial business, oh, well, they're more business, it's all numbers. No, it's not. They're just as bad. We had a listing presentation yesterday. These guys own the Sirloin Stockade franchise. Great guy, Doug Heller. He and I sat down. We hit it off just like that. I mean, I could tell before we walked out he was going to list with us, just because we got along so well and there was a mutual respect. He would ask a question, I would answer the question, I would ask him a question. There was just an immediate mutual respect of a guy that had been in Austin for 30 years.
Amazing.
Of course, he knew we had a good reputation as well, but still, I could tell just in the interchange that connection was there.
I love that. Hey, before we run out of time, I want to open it up for a couple questions because I know people want to ask. And I want to ask you one question I ask all my guests, Joe, which is, what does playing to win look like for you?
Let me tell you, playing to win to me is this. People often ask me, what's the definition of selling? And I've always said the definition of selling is helping people make wise decisions. Okay. So to me, winning in life is later when I'm gone and we all check out at some point and my name comes up in conversation. I want people to say, you know what? I loved working with that guy. He was knowledgeable. He was caring. I mean, he worked with you like you were one of his family. And I would tell you, for people to be able to say that about you when you're gone, you had a very, very successful life. So to me, yeah, that's what it's all about. I want clients to go, oh man, I love working with that guy. He's a blast. And it can be fun, by the way.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to, the hardest client in the world. I had some clients one time, they didn't talk. They were both intellectuals. I was having a hard time driving down the road, carrying on a conversation. And now I know I would have referred them over to somebody. Hey, look, here's an EXP agent. Let me refer you over. Because, it wasn't any fun. And life's too short not to be fun.
So true. So true. I just love you. I love you, Joe. I want to open it up for, because I promised I would open up. Does anyone have a question for the amazing Joe? Oh, Leah does. Go for it. Leah is a team leader in Florida. Go for it.
I am beautiful Southwest Florida. So thank you for this. I did not get number 4 for the stable table theory for the agent.
Stable table theory. In fact, Leah, what I will do is I can send a PowerPoint slide on it.
Oh, awesome.
But stable table number 4 for the agent is leverage. We never got to it. That's why
leverage. Yeah, exactly.
And leverage. So what does leverage mean? If I'm an agent, it means the team I build. You with me? That's not, a team around you is nothing but leverage. The technology I decide on, the vendors I use, who's my mortgage guy, who's my appraiser. Well, my appraiser may come through the lender, but who's my surveyor, all of those. That's the 3 areas of leverage: team, vendors, and technology.
I'm so glad you asked that question, Leah, because I thought I missed it because I was sharing our live stream to 2 other platforms. I'm like, oh, darn it, I missed number 4.
No, she's right. We never got to it.
We got on another thing. Okay, that's a great question. Do you have any other question, Leah, for him besides that?
Oh man, I got so many. No, somebody else go.
What city, hey, Leah, what city are you in?
I'm in Fort Myers.
You realize one of our most successful projects is right down the road, Golden Palms RV Luxury Park.
No way.
That's us. We own it. We're finishing it up. That's been an awesome project. I love Fort Myers. I love the airport.
Oh, we love the airport too. Stop telling people about it. Well, the next time you come down here, you come find me. I'll take you to a delicious lunch. That would be
next
so amazing.
time I come down, I'll do my 2-hour training deal for you guys, because I haven't been there in 2 years because of the pandemic. I would love to fly back down to see Ron.
I will get you connected.
Yeah, we would love to have you. We'll pack the house. It's safe here in Florida.
Yeah, send me an email.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll connect you for email. I'll
Connect us
you
up,
guys.
Melanie.
Leah was
Love
just
it.
visiting us just like a month ago. She was in here. We were here for Team Leader Masterminds, and she came and hung out with us at the Northwest. She's awesome.
Cool.
Yes, love it.
All right.
Thank you for that.
That's exciting. I'm so glad you found that out. Okay, who else has a question for the amazing Joe Williams? Do we have a question from Turkey? Do we have a question from anyone else?
I don't have a question. I just want to say thank you to Joe for showing to give us this interview, to Melanie. It's very nice to see you, Joe.
Coco, it's great to see you too. There's a long story with Coco and I. She's a very good friend with my next door neighbor. And of course, we knew Memo. I bought my first car for Grant from Memo.
You did? Oh, that's so
Yeah.
funny.
I met him. It's great. Great
Oh,
story.
that's awesome. And
Very nice to see you, Joe. Glad to see you.
Coco, you want to ask a question, or are you just saying hi?
And just say hi.
Okay, then we will go to Alice. What you got, Alice?
I just want to know when our next deal is going to start, Joe.
Alice is a perfect example. She is an investor with us in, well, actually several deals.
Mhm.
You'll be glad to know, Alice, we got a letter of intent in on the air ranch that's double what we're buying the land for.
Whoop, whoop. Yeah, do
Yeah,
it.
so now only in a place like Austin would this be happening.
Yeah, do it, sell it. Let's make some money.
Yeah.
I
but-
love it.
No,
That's
but
amazing.
Alice is a great example of a realtor who for some time now has been making investments in and around the market that she knows. She and her husband have done very, very well.
Yes, that's amazing. Yeah,
Yeah.
she was one of our amazing panelists yesterday. On the chat here, we have Memo says, "Hola, Joe," and Mike Takao says, "Thanks, Joe, for always being accessible to help us out as agents. You're always there." And I think Gökhan from Turkey he raised his actual hand. What you got, darling? You came all this way. I mean, virtually, but I love that you're here. What would you like to ask?
First of all, I would like to thank Joe because he always meet for us. We didn't know anything about him, but we just heard his name. So I'm the luckiest one because I met the first time with him in here. So thank you for you to give us this chance. So my question, we were always wondering when we joined the family reunions, the other meetings. So sometimes I think you are not the partner of the main company now. You work as like an agent. So sometimes if you look to yourself, are you getting upset because you sold the shares to the others? I don't know, maybe the Gary, maybe the others, or just be curious as a Turkish.
Yeah, no, basically, and a lot of people know this story. Early on, it became very evident to Gary and I that Gary loved to manage and train and do all of that. Me, I've always been a deal maker, and it was obvious early on for me to sell a percentage of the shares. Now, what a lot of people don't know is I still own a lot of the company.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, he's
I'm-
still in there.
Yeah, I'm still in there. It's like one of the guys, Ben Hinion, told me years ago when I met him. He says, "I want to meet the smartest guy in the world." I said, "Why do you say that?" And he looks at me and he says, "You didn't sell it all." And I went, "That's probably a pretty smart thing, man."
Yeah, and you may
So,
not
no,
know, I'm sorry to interrupt. He also owns market centers but he has a really amazing commercial team here in Austin too, and does a lot of development, like we were saying. Sorry to interrupt you, Joe.
Yeah, but it really was, and that's a very logical question. It really was that what Gary wanted to do was exactly what he's doing today. And I'm doing exactly what I want to do today. So it's turned out really well, but I did, again, like I said, I still own a nice percentage of the whole thing, including you guys in Turkey. Because I own a piece of Worldwide as well as the mortgage operation, KWRI. We still get a lot of income out of that. So in fact, my wife looks at me and she just keeps saying, "Why are you still working? What is there a reason?" Yeah, dear, I need to keep working. Oh, anyhow.
I can't imagine you not working.
Oh, no, that'll never happen.
Yeah,
Like I told her, I'll end up dying at my desk one day. That's what'll happen.
Yeah, you're just so, and he's such an icon in our Austin market too, right? And he's much more in the field. He's the guy that everybody that are realtors that do deals, they know him, right? They know Joe.
Yeah,
And
I've done a lot of work, primarily, as Melanie said, my background's really commercial. So when commercial got going, I was very involved in that, getting them up and running, and I'm deeply involved in the KW commercial group all the time.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'm very excited to share what I know with the other friends in Turkey. Thank you.
Great.
You got the scoop. You heard it here. You heard it here. Awesome.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I know we are a couple minutes over. I want to thank everybody for joining us and being in the studio audience. Thank you for our live stream viewers and anybody listening now on the podcast. Joe, thank you for your time today. You are such a role model and inspiration to so many of us, and it's just an honor to know you and watch you give. You're just a giver. You're just always giving. If I could explain you or describe you to somebody, is you just have this positive energy about you that you're just always lifting people up and sharing your knowledge. This is who you are. You're just a big giver.
Well, life's too short, Melanie, and there's too much to go around, but I'm tickled to death that everybody on the call and the whole company has done so well. I think this year is going to be an absolutely great year for all of us. Thank you for getting this organized, because without you doing this, the word doesn't get out.
Oh, well, this will get out to a lot more people. So thank you for your time. And you guys go play to win. Have an amazing day. And we'll see you hopefully some of you at family reunion.
Absolutely. See you guys.
Bye. Thank you, Joe.